Thomas. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning, McGraw. Good morning, Kelly. How the heck are you?
We're doing good. So Thursday when we chatted with you, you were telling us this story you wrote where you found out about a veterans nursing home that some people were trying to call the attention to the authorities that it was not performing up to the standards that veterans deserve. Continuing with this, you've written more on this. What's the latest?
So my Wednesday column was about the Monday night meeting in which over 100 people showed up at North Kirkwood Middle School, and there were employees, there were families, there were advocates, there was at least one veteran who lives at the home there, all talking about the fact that there are a variety of medical issues not being well taken care of at the St. Louis Veterans Home, missed medicines, people with bed sores not being taken care of, staffing not up to par, therefore veterans being neglected, just all sorts of serious complaints. And these are complaints that have been taken to Lieutenant Governor Mike Parson and Governor Eric Greitens for months, going back to March or April, according to the advocates. And so what happened after Wednesday's column was Lieutenant Governor Mike Parson issued a call for an independent investigation, and so did, in a joint letter, which is relatively unique, Senators Claire McCaskill and Roy Blunt. And yesterday, Governor Greitens, for the first time, responded to this crisis and indicated that he's going to call for an investigation. He says he's going to have the Department of Public Safety look into it. This morning I spoke to advocates. They're not jumping up and down about that because the governor claims Department of Public Safety already looked at it a couple of months ago and didn't find anything. The advocates say when Department of Public Safety looked at the home, they didn't talk to any of the families who have been complaining. Missouri Veterans Commission, which oversees the St. Louis Veterans Home and all 7 of the veterans homes in the state, is actually a department of the Department of Public Safety. So the idea that the Department of Public Safety is going to issue some independent investigation at this point, the families, the victims, the advocates, they're not comforted by that decision. They want a truly independent investigation to look at this.
We should also say that Rick Stream is sort of involved with the families and the advocates, right, to sort of get attention on this?
Yes, very much. He's been involved. Rick Stream was brought in by Dory Polhowski, who is the volunteer who first really identified these problems and started to bring them to attention. And she's spent months now interviewing families and veterans and going to the home over and over and over again. And she asked Rick Stream for help because the former state representative, who's currently the Republican election chair in St. Louis County, has the contacts, has the understanding of how Jeff City works. And so Rick Stream helped run the meeting Monday night. He's very much involved in this. I talked to Rick this morning. He's one of the people who expressed to me that he's not sure DPS can be independent in such an investigation. He wants the governor to take this a little bit more seriously than he thinks he has.
If it's not this state agency that should look into these allegations of mistreatment, which agency should look into it?
Well, you could have the Attorney General look into it. You could ask the U.S. Attorney or the feds to look into it. You could have Department of Health and Human Services or another agency like that has healthcare expertise. There's a variety of ways you could do it. You could contract with the St. Louis County Health Department, somebody else who has some medical expertise that can look into this. One of the columns that I haven't written yet that I will be writing soon is about how a former medical director from the facility actually brought some of these issues to the attention of state officials even earlier than I previously reported. And so you need to get somebody with the medical expertise, somebody who can do an investigation, will interview these families, will interview these veterans, will do so independently. One of the things that I reported in my column Wednesday that I didn't know about when I wrote the Sunday column is that when the Veterans Administration, the Veterans Affairs did a survey and found perfect scores at the St. Louis Veterans Home, which is one of the things that the governor points to. It's one of the things that the director, Rolando Carter, points to. They were given 2 weeks' notice. They knew he was they knew that the survey was coming. It's not like it was a spot visit. And when the Veterans Affairs came in and did the look, they didn't talk to the families. They didn't talk to the people that have said that they have problems. So there has not been an actual independent investigation of the conditions at this home. And there is rising sentiment calling for that. And I think when Senators McCaskill and Blunt sign a joint letter, that sends a pretty strong message that something's going on here. This is beyond any sort of partisan politics. This is about taking care of veterans and getting it done and getting it done right.
Yeah, Thursday you mentioned this, and I think it's important to sort of explain to people there are 7 or 8 of these Missouri veterans homes around the state, and the allegations are in this one specific veterans home in North County.
Correct. Although it's worth noting in the letter from Senators McCaskill and Blunt, they asked for all 7 homes to be investigated. And one of the reasons that I think that is that the families and advocates have raised serious questions about the leadership at the Missouri Veterans Commission. General Larry Kay is the head of that, and it's worth noting, some of your listeners will remember, he was a civil jury, found him liable for $3.5 million in sexual discrimination and harassment against a former employee, the former ombudsman of Missouri veterans, Pat Rowe Kerr. The Missouri Appeals Court just this week supported that circuit court decision. And so you have the head of the Missouri Veterans Commission who's already cost the state $3.5 million in a discrimination complaint. And there were some pretty serious allegations made in that trial. He's still in charge. When that first happened, there were some lawmakers calling for his head. He's still in charge. The governor who appoints the commissioners to the Missouri Veterans Commission has not appointed anybody to the Missouri Veterans Commission since he's been governor. So all of the previous Nixon appointees are still serving. As of today, every one of those positions is serving on an expired term, except for the lawmakers. There's 4 or 5 lawmakers that are also on the commission. But all of the citizen positions on the Missouri Veterans Commission that ultimately has the authority over this home, they're all serving on an expired term. That's the things that Governor Greitens could do to help deal with this situation is get some fresh commissioners in there and see if they will take a stronger look at what's going on.
Let me give you a little kudos here because Rick Stream and this woman, Dory, have been trying to get attention for this and trying to get attention from the state for months. Only after you wrote about it did McCaskill, Blunt, Parsons, and Greitens finally step up to the plate and say they would do something.
Yeah, and they're all paying attention now. And to be fair to Senators McCaskill and Blunt, I'm not sure if they knew about this. I knew that the advocates were working very hard to get attention at the state level. I know Governor Greitens knew about it. I know Lieutenant Governor Mike Parson knew about it. I know Missouri Veterans Commissioners knew about it for several months. And I'm going to continue to report on some of the details that they knew and keep asking questions as to whether or not they're going to actually investigate.
I know you'll be the annoying guy you love to be. That's why we love you, Tony. Have a good day. Thanks for checking in.